Hey everyone, what's up? Today we're going to talk about how you're going to become an able leader and have a blueprint so that you can experience success in a fast changing economic environment. But before I do that, I want to sincerely thank everyone that's worked on this summit. To pull together all of these people from all over the world sharing how they lead generously is an amazing feat, and I truly appreciate it. Now, let me share something else with you. I also appreciate the fact that we all here are leaders, all of us, whether you're at home working with your family or you're leading a team at work or you're an entrepreneur or even if you're coaching that little league basketball team, we all function as leaders. So what I need you to do today is grab a pen, grab some paper, be ready to take some notes as I pull up my slides and let's jump right into this, okay? I'm really excited to share this stuff with you. The able leader needs to be able to adapt, innovate, and stay ahead. Because if we fall behind, we lose out on many different opportunities. Now, I operate in all these different roles. And the one thing they all have in common is that I have to operate in a leadership capacity. Now, the ABLE framework is focused on intentionally shaping your leadership in a way that sets you apart. Through the steps in our ABLE framework, which are activate, build, leverage, and execute, we dig deep to have purposeful changes that keep you ahead in this fast-moving economy that waits for no one. Now, I want to ask you a question. And I had to ask myself this question as well. If things are changing at a breakneck pace, where it's hard for me to keep up on my own, how can I maintain the confidence that I've built for so many years operating as a leader? Well, the activate phase helps you to be able to do that. So instead of sitting, planning how you're going to do this, you begin to start with action. You activate, you move, and you plan as you go. So after you activate your confidence, you begin to build the evidence by building up things which are called PUCs. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. Once you build up your PUCs or your personal use cases, then you're able to leverage so that you can gain the influence you need so that you're able to move with the times and not remain stagnant. Then once you gain that influence, you're able to execute so that you can have maximum impact. Now let's jump right into it. Listen, the first thing that we need to do before we start doing anything is to make sure that we have a firm foothold on who we really are and us knowing who we really are. So first we must gain self-awareness, which means understanding our identity, knowing our strengths, and really understanding our intrinsic value. What's intrinsic value? Intrinsic value are the things that you understand about yourself, that you build everything upon. It is not about what other people think about you, but it is about everything that you know about yourself. Now, the opposite of that is implied value, which means it's all about what other people think about you. We see this often when we go to get a job and you walk in and they tell you a salary, which means they're telling you what you're worth. Well, you know what? No one has that ability but you. And you can use that knowledge to gain the clarity that you need to navigate the changes and challenges that you go through effectively. Next, after doing that, you perform a gap analysis. When you know and have a clear view of your identity and your strengths, then you'll know what's missing. You'll know the skills that you'll need to remain relevant in this current and future economic shift. Now, strategically, you've got to address these gaps to stay competitive. Once you do all that, now you can develop that growth mindset where you're thinking increase, and not just increase so that you can make more money, but to increase yourself so that you can serve the people that you're leading. Because remember, leaders are servants. And as we increase our skill sets, as we learn new things and stretch ourselves, then we'll be able to have the resilience to be able to navigate uncertain times. Now, after you've done all that, you've got to be able to embrace all of that self-discovery. Now, sometimes we do all that work and we just stay in that place and we ruminate and all of that. But once you embrace that self-discovery, you can engage and be able to identify and develop those talents so that you can uncover and utilize those strengths for personal and professional advancement. It's cool that you did all that stuff for yourself, and you become a better person. You feel better about yourself, and you think you're okay. But we don't stop there, because the reason why you work on yourself, especially as a leader, is so that you can go and serve others. So the only way that you can build that evidence that you can serve others is to build your personal use cases. Now you may ask, what is a personal use case? Well, have you ever heard of a POC, which is a proof of concept? Well, your personal use case is basically the same thing for yourself. You go back and you take the things that you learned in the activate phase and you begin to put them in actionable items that you can implement little by little, day by day. Let me give you an example. I had a client who went on hiatus and wanted to jump back into the game and establish herself as one of the top experts in technology. Now, she had a world of knowledge. She was well learned. She studied everything that she needed to know, and she kept up with everything that was going on. But by her getting out of the game, she lost a little bit of her confidence. So she went through the activate phase and got through all of that just fine. But then she needed to be able to put that stuff to work. And the only way that she could do that was to begin to do things like publish articles, make social media posts, and connect with people so that they can understand that she has the knowledge that they need to be able to advance in technology. So that was her personal use case. That personal use case needed to be refined and developed on a daily basis, which means she couldn't just go tell one person, or she couldn't just make one post. She had to make multiple posts and talk to multiple people and even do other things so that she can have iterative development and refinement based on the feedback that she got from other people in her industry. Then from there, she began to implement her personal PUCs or personal use cases so that she can establish herself in the real world as an expert. Now, all of this prepared her for the next step in the ABLE framework, which is leverage. Now, she did collect metrics and she still made refinements, but leverage had her to do some other things with this PUC, and you'll see that in a moment. Let's check it out. Now, in the leverage phase, it's all about iterative testing. And what iterative testing means is that you execute your PUC or your personal use case, you collect information on it, you get feedback, you make adjustments, and you turn around and you do the same thing again with different people. As you continue to do that, and as you continue to make those adjustments, you get stronger. The confidence that you gained in the activate phase and the evidence that you gained in the build phase now is at work. And refinement is happening on a daily basis. Now you begin to influence new outcomes, right? And now you're able to make sharp, clear decisions as things are changing around you quickly. You're able to launch new initiatives and present new ideas. Then from there, you expand your network. You begin to talk to people that you never talked to before. One of the things that Dr. George Fraser talks about all the time is perfecting your pitch. This is the time that you can do that. As a matter of fact, one of your PUCs should be, your personal use cases should be to perfect your pitch and to deliver your pitch as many times as possible, and then make those adjustments every time you deliver it. Now, from there, you do all these things, you begin to create new revenue opportunity, and you begin to demonstrate the tangible value of your PUC. That means that people will see who you are and how you can help them to be who they need to be in business as well as other relationships. Now, this is the fun part. Execution. All those PUCs that you've been continuously working on, continuously refining, continuously getting better at. Now you're going to put them in a place where they can scale, right? And you could begin to broaden your business. Your leadership capabilities grow, and you begin to have personal scenarios that deliver maximum impact. Now, in order to continue to do this, you got to measure them daily. You cannot just lay back on your laurels. You can't get lazy. You reach this phase, you've definitely, experienced some type of success. But don't let that success fool you, because that is not your end game. You have to continue to measure that progress. You have to continue to grow so that you can celebrate those small wins and continue to build the momentum you need to refine your strategies and have continued success. We've got to expand that influence and make more impact. Now, it's not just in business, but think about your family. You're doing these things. You're doing these PUCs, right? But are you doing them just so your family can stay the same? Are you doing it so that your family can have the same mindsets and the same paradigm? No, you want to influence them and have the impact so that you can drive greater results, foster meaningful connections, and create more growth opportunities for them. And now, this is the cool part. You have to have continuous iteration. You've got to do this stuff over and over and over again. Why? Because remember, we're in a fast changing economy. So as you iterate and go through your PUCs and you make your adjustments, you're staying with the fast pace and most times staying ahead of it. And that's when you're able to have the skills and strategies that you need to stay relevant and constantly be the best that you can possibly be. Now, a little bit about that client that I mentioned earlier in the workshop. She's brilliant. She has a magnificent sense for how to connect humans to technology. Her message is unique. But when she took her hiatus and when she stepped away from the game for a while, she lost her confidence. She lost that connection to her intrinsic value that let her know what her strengths were. And she lost a little bit of her identity. So when she activated and began to move without a plan, without knowing how she was going to get to where she had to go, her confidence came back. Being real with herself, doing that gap analysis and seeing, hey, you know what, I'm missing these skills. I need to sharpen this up. I need to do what I need to do. Even though at first she felt that she was behind, she started to catch up quickly because she had the confidence in the things that she needed to build with, to build those PUCs. And as she began to build those PUCs, the evidence became clear that she was who she knew she was. That amazing professional who can go in and affect the change immediately. Now, after she did that, she iterated and kept doing them over and over again, leveraging her newfound skills with her old skills, showing it in her articles, in her posts, going to networking events, going to conferences all over the world until finally new opportunities showed up. And now she is enjoying new business, speaking engagements, even podcast interviews. She is sitting in that seat as one of the foremost experts in technology. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to wind up introducing her to this group because I know she has something to offer that'll bless you guys as well. Now, let me close this down because I've got one more thing that I want to share with you. The ABLE framework is based on Numbers 13 in the Bible, Numbers 13. And if you're familiar with the story, the children of Israel have been released from Egypt. They went through all the things that they went to, and they had even been in the wilderness, and, had manna, and, and God was feeding them daily. They really didn't know what was going to happen. They really didn't have an idea about their future. They had a kind of glimpse of it, but they really didn't know. And finally, God let them know and let Moses know that, hey, there is a promised land. There is a place for you. And when they reached it, they said, hey, let's send out some spies and see what's really going on because we want to make sure that this is the promised land. This is the place that we're supposed to be. So they sent out the spies, and the spies went and they saw all this prosperity. Everything was lush, beautiful, had everything that they needed so that they could carry out all the things that God had for them to do as leaders. Remember, everybody's a leader. So they went and they saw the grapes that are the size of my head, and the land was flowing with milk and honey, and all these things that God had promised them. So they went back with a report, all of those spies. And they gathered everybody together and they said, hey, this is the promised land. Oh my God, it has everything that we need. All of the provision, all the people everything that we need is there. But there are giants in the land that occupied the Hittites and all the other ites. We can't do it. How are we going to overtake those ites? And Caleb said right then, he said, well, yeah, that's true. But we are well able to go into the promised land and overtake them and occupy it. That's where the ABLE framework came from. Now, from there, people still complained and rumbled and, oh my God, we're not going to do it. Da, 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 da. And they waited. And do you realize that a whole generation of leaders died in the wilderness because they were afraid? They were afraid. They didn't have the confidence. They didn't activate the confidence so that they can go ahead and build the evidence and build those PUCs of just going out and doing what God had told them to do. Even though they didn't know the end from the beginning, he told them what to do. He gave them the PUCs. They didn't keep iterating and going over and over again, ruminating on the word that God had given them and acting on it, acting on each step daily and making those adjustments so that then they could leverage to have the influence to overtake those giants and then have the impact that they needed to not only take over the land, but occupy it in such a way where they could be a blessing to themselves and the world. Now, I want to ask you one question before I leave. What are you waiting on? What has God told you to do? Clearly. But you're waiting on it because you don't think you have enough to overtake all the obstacles that stand between you and that promise, that stand between you and that desire. Now, you've got the word already. Now I'm giving you the framework. And I need everyone here who is a leader to now become an able leader. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you all soon.